looking back at my own life, the tangled knotted threads, the bright ones and the dark ones, full of words I wish I'd said. It don't seem to make much sense, Lord. It looks like a mistake, a random mess of heartache and of every bad break. I see a thread of sorrow and a thread of deep regret, and I wonder what the reason is for the troubles that I met. 'Cause from where I'm standing down here, the pattern's hard to see. It just looks like a chaotic and a tangled history. I've been trying to make it pretty, I've been trying to make it right, but I'm just a clumsy weaver, lost and fumbling in the night. But then I get a glimpse of it, a truth I understand, that I'm only seeing the underside. And there's a weaver's hand that's working on the top side, where the picture's clear and true, and every single tangled thread is known and placed by you. And the dark thread of my sorrow brings a golden thread to life, and the weaver's making something beautiful from my own sin and strife. I remember that one winter when I lost my dearest friend. I thought that thread of darkness would just never ever end, but that's the very thread you used to teach my soul to pray and to lean upon your mercy at the closing of the day. And the joy I found in you, Lord, was a brighter shade of gold because of that dark, painful thread in that story to be told. 'Cause now I get a glimpse of it, a truth I understand, that I'm only seeing the underside. And there's a weaver's hand that's working on the top side, where the picture's clear and true, and every single tangled thread is known and placed by you. And the dark thread of my sorrow brings a golden thread to life, and the weaver's making something beautiful from my own sin and strife. 'Cause the darkest thread in history was a cross upon a hill. It looked like God had lost it all, that his own son was killed. But the weaver was just working his most beautiful design, to trade his son's own perfect life for your broken soul and mine. The weaver's hand, I don't need to understand. The weaver's hand is holding my own hand. My life is in your hand. The journey took 3 long days, not a single word was said, just the heavy sound of footsteps and the fear inside my head. He was the child of the promise, the son I'd waited for. And now you're asking me to lead him to a sacrificial door. I gathered up the wood and fire, my soul was split in two. How can I trust a promise if the promise is what you're asking me to lose? And he looked at me so innocent, my son, my only one. He said, Father, I see the fire and the wood, but the offering there is none. And my own heart broke completely, but my mouth had spoken faith. The Lord himself will provide a lamb here in this lonely place. And I built the stone altar, and I bound my precious son, and I raised the knife to heaven for the will of God to be done. And just before I let it fall, a voice called out my name, and a different kind of sacrifice was offered to the flame. 'Cause there was a ram in the thicket, caught by its horns right there, the beautiful and holy answer to a father's faithful prayer. And I think about my own life and the things I hold so dear, the Isaacs that I've built my world on year after weary year, my pride, my plans, my own two hands, the treasures that I keep, and the voice of God that whispers, son, your love for me must be more deep. And he asked me for the one thing that I don't think I can give, the one thing that I'm clinging to, the reason that I live. And I build a stone altar, and I bind my precious son, and I raise the knife to heaven for the will of God to be done. And just before I let it fall, a voice calls out my name, and a different kind of sacrifice is offered to the flame. 'Cause there's a ram in the thicket, caught by its horns right there, the beautiful and holy answer to a father's faithful prayer. 'Cause on that same dark mountain, so many years from then, God would not provide a ram, but the lamb to save all men. He would not stay his own hand, he would not spare his son, so the final perfect sacrifice for everyone was done. A ram in the thicket, Jehovah Jireh sees. A ram in the thicket brought me to my knees. My God provides. The crowd was tired and hungry at the closing of the day, and the men of God came to the Lord with worried words to say. Send them to the villages to find a bite of bread, 'cause there's nothing in this desert for 5,000 souls to be fed. We've got no gold to buy it. We've got no grand supply, just a sea of human need underneath an empty sky. And Jesus looked at his own men, and he asked them soft and low, what have you got to offer? What kind of seed to sow? And they just shook their heads and said, Lord, it's a hopeless case. There's nothing here but emptiness in this forgotten place. But a boy stepped up with 5 loaves and a couple little fish, just a simple, humble offering to grant a greater wish. And it wasn't near enough, Lord, anybody could have seen. But you took it and you blessed it and you made the offering clean. And a miracle of mercy for the whole wide world to see is what can happen with 5 loaves and a faith like a mustard seed. I look at my own life, Lord, and the little that I hold. My talent's not so special, and my story's getting old. And I see the hungry masses with a need so big and wide, and I feel so small and useless with nowhere left to hide. 'Cause the little that I have to give seems like a single drop of rain in the middle of a drought upon a dry and thirsty plain. But I'm giving you my 5 loaves and a couple little fish, just a simple, humble offering to grant a greater wish. And it isn't near enough, Lord, as anybody here can see. But you can take and bless it and make something out of me. And a miracle of mercy for the whole wide world to see is what can happen with 5 loaves and a man as small as me. 'Cause you're the God of multiplication, you're the God of more than enough. You can turn a sinner's broken life into a vessel of your love. You can take the foolish things on earth and bring the wise to shame. There's a world of holy power in your mighty precious name. Just 5 loaves, blessed and broken in your hand. 5 loaves to feed a hungry land. My 5 loaves. Got a shelf of commentaries, I know the doctrines and the creeds. I can argue eschatology and all the ancient deeds. I've built a faith of intellect, a fortress for my mind, and I thought that my complexity was the rarest, finest kind. I'd analyze the scriptures, I'd debate the points of view, and I thought the more I understood, the more I'd look like you. Then I saw my little grandchild kneeling by her bed last night, praying for a puppy with all her little might. She didn't have a single doubt, she didn't have a fear. She just knew the God of heaven was a friend who's always near. And your own words came back to me, a truth so sharp and wild. You cannot see the kingdom unless you're like a child. And all my years of learning and all my righteous pride felt like a pile of ashes with nowhere left to hide. 'Cause the simple trust she showed you in that moment, pure and true, was a faith that's so much bigger than the one I thought I knew. She'll forgive before the sun is down, she'll wake up fresh and new. She finds a world of wonder in a single drop of dew. She's not afraid to ask for things, the big things and the small. And she never seems to worry that she'll stumble and she'll fall. And I'm the one who's supposed to teach, the one who's old and wise. But I'm learning about the kingdom from the look in her blue eyes. 'Cause your own words came back to me, a truth so sharp and wild. You cannot see the kingdom unless you're like a child. And all my years of learning and all my righteous pride felt like a pile of ashes with nowhere left to hide. 'Cause the simple trust she showed you in that moment, pure and true, was a faith that's so much bigger than the one I thought I knew. 'Cause you didn't come for wise men, you didn't come for kings, you came for humble shepherds and the simple songs they sing. And you set a child among us for the whole wide world to see, the kind of humble trust and heart that you want inside of me. Unless you're like a child, Lord, make me small again. Unless you're like a child, a true and faithful friend, like a child.